right. What up? All right. Happy Friday, Melonheads. I am nobody special. It is my favorite time of the week. My Friday afternoon live stream. I love it. This is the best part of the week. I look forward to this all week. I absolutely love this little hour and change that I spend with you guys. Although I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The 1 hour right before the live stream from like 2:15 to 3:15 is the worst hour of the week because I get this little panic that sets in like, oh my God, is my lighting set up? Did I change the Wi-Fi password? Do I have enough windows? Do I have enough things to talk about? Did I miss somebody's suggestion in the post from the night before? Oh, do I need to go to the bathroom? Did I eat something first? Oh my God, what if something happens while I'm on is the internet going to go out? Mass hysteria. Dogs and cats living together. Total panic mode between 2 and 3 o'clock on Friday. It's getting a little bit less. I'm getting a little more into it. Getting a little more used to it. But my God, it's such a relief when the time is actually here and I actually hit that go live button and I can just start talking and just start interacting with you guys. It's such a relief. So, yeah, that was my little behind-the-scenes look at Panic Jack, Panic Nobody. You know, when they say nobody panic, that means nobody panics. Anyway, it is good to see you guys. Happy Friday. It was an awesome week. Markets didn't do so well this week, but a lot of the stuff I'm in did pretty well this week. Energy did pretty well right up until today. Same thing with precious metals, did pretty well right up until today. Crypto, not so much. Crypto winter is here, sadly. But you know what? We knew that was coming. We prepared for that. I am just going to continue accumulating my crypto. I don't care. I am in this for the long haul. I have my shiny silver and my shiny gold to keep me warm while crypto is down, and that is just fine. And I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat already. Hello, Neil Hahn, all over the place. Neil, you got a lot of words in there, even though I turned on slow mode. Impressive, Neil. Lucky Luke is in the house. I see Nicole Post is here. Hello, Nicole. Hello, Mish. The moderator is in the house. Hello, Mike Robin. Tom Stencil. Big Ugly. MF. Hello, Big Ugly. Good afternoon. KS is here. Dennis Glock. Cheshire Yeoman. Cheshire. Hello, Cesare. I'm going to keep calling you Cesare. And did we mention Dennis? Hi, Dennis. It's good to see you. So good to see everybody. All right, we got a lot going on today. Real quick, just an idea I want to bounce off you guys. I did a live stream on Tuesday morning because I woke up Tuesday morning and there was so much going on in markets. Oil was way up, silver was way up, bonds were up, that I real quick kind of shotgunned a Tuesday live stream. And I think I'm probably going to make that a regular thing. I'm thinking Tuesday midweek because I know the Friday live streams get pretty long. And I guess like an hour and a half, an hour and 25 minutes is a bit long. Nobody goes back and watches a 1 hour live stream after the fact. So what I'm thinking of doing is probably splitting it up. I'm probably going to do one midweek from now on. I'm thinking Tuesday is the day to do it. Whether I do it Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon, I don't know. I have work night at the Firehouse Tuesday night, so it might be hard for me to do Tuesday afternoon. But we'll see. So look for that. We're gonna split it up midweek. We'll do like a midweek live stream, and that way we don't have to make these things quite as long, and I get to have this interaction more often with you guys. Lynn Williams is here. Do you think the banks are removing silver from inventory only to add it back again later? Yes, Lynn, I do think that's what they're doing. And that's the normal, I would say, right? It's the bank's doing their price manipulation scheme, but you have a lot of people are buying up silver right now, going silver long. The bullion banks are net long silver now, so they have bought it. They've put it in their own inventories. They've taken it out of the registered category. It's back ineligible now. They're going to let the price run up, i.e. they're not going to do their price manipulation, their smashes. They're going to let the price run up, and then they're going to move their silver from registered back into eligible and probably start shorting it back down again at some point. But it looks like right now that the bullion banks are positioned to let the silver price run. They've taken out net longs, the same thing in gold. All except Bank of America. Bank of America appears to be the one big short that's left, and it looks like all the other banks are going to gang up on B of A. Boo-hoo, my heart goes out to you, B of A. I don't care. I want my silver going higher. So, good question, Lynn. Yes, I do think the smashes will return eventually. And then again, we have that big sell-off that's on the horizon. Whenever it happens, we don't know. But remember that in that big sell-off, everything is going to get dragged down with it. Gold, silver, crypto, real estate, all asset classes across the board. So have some dry powder on the side when that happens. It would have been great if YouTube alerts had worked so I could have caught the stream. I'm sorry you missed that one, Nicole. I didn't give a lot of notice. I woke up Tuesday morning and I saw all these things were going on, and I was trying to figure out which one I was going to cover in a video. And I just decided, you know what, screw it, we're going to do it live. And it was like 9:15 when I decided to do the live stream, and I wanted to do it right at market open. I figured that was a good time to live stream the opening of the market. So that only gave me a 15-minute window to get the description typed up and create the post and get everything set up. So it only gave like a couple of seconds really notice. I didn't plan that one very well, so I'm probably going to plan it a little bit better going forward. So sorry you missed that. KS asked Firehouse. Yes, KS, I'm a volunteer firefighter, and Tuesday nights is work night at the Firehouse and training night. So that's part of my Tuesday routine. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit a live stream into that, although it's a little later in the day. I could probably still fit it in. I just can't run as late. So that's why I said Firehouse, yes. That would be awesome, says Tom Stencil. It's good to know. The margin man cometh. Mish, I like that saying. I may have to use that. You should have got a copyright. You could have got a nickel every time I said it. The margin man cometh. That is good. Somebody write that down. Oh, I'm going to use that a lot. Hello, Vaiska from Finland. All right, the Finns are in the house. And then it'll be interesting to see how high silver will reach. Good times. You know, there's really no telling how high it could go. I don't want to make myself sound like a lunatic with saying how high I think it could go. Suffice it to say, significantly higher than it is right now. First of all, let me just say, I think gold is way undervalued in itself. I think gold should probably be somewhere around $3,000 an ounce right now. And silver comes out of the ground, I think 8-1, gold to silver. So what is, someone do the math real quick. What's 1/8 of 3,000? So 12 an ounce. That puts it somewhere around $60 an ounce right there. And no, I'm sorry, that's about $600 an ounce. Yeah, $600 an ounce. I was off by a pretty big amount. So yeah, I think silver's going a lot higher. Stack, 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 and the margin man cometh. That is awesome. All right, guys, I got a lot of stuff. I had a few people sent suggestions on my my text post last night for things to cover, so we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the Federal Reserve and FedCoin. I don't know if we're going to have enough time to get to the food and the fertilizer thing, but I've been tracking that. But let's shrink my big fat melon anyway and just look at what's going on here. And what a bloodbath this week for stocks. Not a good week for stocks. Let's make sure you guys can see, and you can. S&P down, what, about, well, not quite 100 points for the week. S&P fared much better than the NASDAQ. Look at the NASDAQ. Yikes, down from 14.1 to 13.8. NASDAQ shed a lot of points. The Dow did a little bit better than the other two indices, but still not spared, from 34.6 down to 34.3. We have this, I just did a video a few hours ago about this rotation out of tech and into value. And I should say maybe not out of tech, maybe out of growth would be more accurate, and into value. And I think you're going to see downward pressure on the NASDAQ and upward pressure on the Dow because of that. I think all these tech unicorns are just going to absolutely flop this year. And you're going to see money move back into the abused stocks and the energy in the food space. I think that's going to be a pretty powerful theme this year. Now, I don't think that makes the industrials, and that doesn't make the Dow and the energy stocks immune to the big sell-off that I think could be coming. Just that in the meantime, I think The Dow is where you want to be, not in the big tech names, the FANG names. Peloton, give me a break, Peloton. It's a freaking exercise bike, man. And again, I have to CYMA, not a financial advisor, not financial advice. This is just financial edutainment. Do your own research and your own DD and arrive at a decision that is right for you based on your unique situation. Moving on, oil had a heck of a week to start. Let's go to a 5-day chart here. Started pretty well, and then today, not so much today. I was saying oil was beginning to look a little toppy midweek. I'm not going to say I called that top because I didn't, although I am down to 1/3 of my position in my XLE calls. I still have a third of those left. I'm actually thinking of rolling them up and out. I'm thinking this sell-off in oil, I think it was just overdue. Like looking at a 1-month chart here, like oil was due for a little bit of a correction. I don't think anything fundamentally has changed. OPEC is really struggling to meet these production increases that they say are coming. OPEC's supposed to be increasing production by 400,000 barrels a month, and not if their pipelines keep blowing up, and not if they start wars in Eastern Europe. That's not going to help production. So I think the oil story is intact, although I have been selling my position on the way up. Now I'm at the point where I got to make a decision. Am I going to roll these calls up and out? I don't know. Personally, I think we're going to see 90 before we see 70. Nicole, I know you mentioned in my post, what would $75 oil look like because everybody's saying 100. I don't think $75 oil would really be that painful. It would certainly help with our inflation narrative. I just don't see that happening, though. I could be wrong. But I don't see that happening. The geopolitical risk is just all over the place. There's so many things that could go wrong, and everything has to go right to get $75 oil. And, well, everything going right, that just wouldn't be very 2020s, would it? No, it would not. So, 375. Oh, someone did the math. Thank you, Mish, for doing the math. That would be $375 silver. So I was way off. I shouldn't do math on the fly like that. Jack, I know you don't get political, but the C word narrative is collapsing and there are thousands of lawsuits coming. What impact will that have, you think? You're going to get me in trouble, Nicole. I like to see that narrative collapsing. Just about everybody I know, almost everyone I know has gotten it in the last, 2 months. Almost, it's everywhere. So what are we hiding from? If everybody's already had it, what are we hiding from? It's a serious question. What's the point? And I was saying Omicron is the vax. Omicron is the vax, right? We all got that natural immunity going now. Let's just move on. Enough already. Everybody's sick of it. We know everybody's sick of it. People just get hysterical. And I would just say that there's one thing I've learned from this mess. It is beware the corruptible influence of politics in science. At all costs, we must keep politics out of science. All right? Politics is necessary, but it's dirty. All right? Think of it like wastewater treatment, right? When we flush the toilet, it has to go somewhere. Otherwise, it would just pile up and make everything stink. That's politics. It's necessary. But you know what? We don't want that where we keep our food, do we? No, obviously not. And where we keep our food, that is science. Science needs to be viewed as sacred, and we need to keep the politics out of it, because once politics gets its filthy fingers into science, then tribalism takes over, and people plant their feet, and they refuse to move, and the data is corrupted, and the people in the middle have no way of knowing how to make up their minds, because they're hearing both things from both sides. Everybody's shouting at each other and pointing fingers. Enough. Keep the filthy stink of politics out of science. And that goes for everything. That goes for atmospheric carbon emissions. That goes for whatever bug or disease is flying around, to energy policy. Just keep the stink of politics out of science, for the love of God. That's what I think about that. And I am going to climb right down off my soapbox before I get in trouble. All right. Now, somebody had asked, let me see who it was so I can give proper credit where it's due. Somebody had asked me in the post, I had this window open, It was Mr. Mike Kaufman said, so we have a huge surplus of new cars that can't be sold because they don't have chips. The auto business is still a major driver in the economy. At what point does the auto market crash? Even when they get the chips, it seems they won't need new cars until the surplus is sold. To me, this is a huge deal that no one is really talking about. Mike, that's a very good question. Thank you for sending that comment. I agree. Car prices are due for a crash, and when prices go parabolic, there's no telling how high they can go, but we always know that they come right back down. Parabolic price moves are never sustainable. They always come right back down. Look at lumber last year. Look at what stocks are about to do. Tulips, cryptocurrencies, right? Parabolic price moves are not sustainable. And we're seeing parabolic price moves in the price of used cars and new cars right now because of this chip shortage. Well, we have thousands upon thousands. I don't even know how many, might even be in the millions, of new cars that are totally built. They're just sitting there and they don't have a chip. And at some point, those chips are going to arrive. I don't know when it's going to be, but at some point they're going to arrive, and all those new cars are going to hit the market all at the same time. And the price is going to crash because there's going to be this huge glut of cars on the market. And all these incredibly expensive cars are going to become incredibly cheap. And the price of the used cars is going to plummet when that happens. So there is absolutely is a crash coming in car prices. I don't know when, but it's long overdue. And I just want to point this one out because I did a video not too long ago about the ongoing collapse of globalism. That globalism is breaking down after decades and decades of outsourcing and all this discussion about, this global community and everything. We're starting to see countries are hoarding supplies, and when shortages develop, the producing countries keep what they have to keep their own prices down, and everybody else is left to fend for themselves. And then I saw this article: Intel's $20 billion Ohio factory could become the world's largest chip plant. And this is the result of this globalism breaking down and this chip shortage. And thank God we're doing this, especially with the prospects of, God forbid, things ever light off in Taiwan. The first thing that would be hit would be the chip factories, and that would just send the whole world into chaos. So I'm so glad to see that the U.S. is building some chip manufacturing capacity. This article just came out yesterday. Intel said on Friday it would invest up to $100 billion to build potentially the world's largest chip-making complex in Ohio, made in the USA. Thank you. Looking to boost capacity as global shortage of semiconductors affects everything from smartphones to cars. The move is part of CEO Pat Gelsinger, did I say that right? His strategy to restore Intel's dominance in chip making and reduce America's reliance on Asian manufacturing hubs, which will have a tight hold on the market. Yes, with all my heart, yes. More of this, please. We must bring back manufacturing. And folks, there are just so many of society's problems can just be neatly packaged up into this story, right? I mean, think about just the endless train of tents in Los Angeles, right? Of people living in tents, and the story about the trains being broken into and all the boxes well, the middle class has been destroyed over the last 50 years in this country, right? All the people who used to work on the assembly line and used to work in the factories, well, that work disappeared. And a few of them, if they were lucky, escaped up into the upper middle class. But most of them were driven down beneath the poverty line. And that's why we have this ridiculous homeless problem in this country. So we must bring back manufacturing, give these people hope. And look, I know there's other problems. There's problems like drugs, and there's problems like mental health. But you know what? When people have hope, when people have a chance at building a better life for themselves, they're less likely to need mental health treatment, and they're less likely to abuse drugs and end up on the street because they have a chance at a better life. So I want to see more of this with all my heart. Yes, to see manufacturing coming back to the U.S. It is so long overdue. And I know we got a lot of folks from Europe and from other countries on the call, but the U.S., I don't know are they seeing that in Europe, the tent cities like we're seeing here in the U.S., but it breaks my heart to see it. There's no reason for it. There's no excuse for it. It shows that there's something inherently broken in our system. And I think this is how you fix that. Number one, fix the money. Stop killing people with inflation. And number two, bring back manufacturing, man. And look, all the savings from relocating manufacturing overseas, it's gone. It's been eroded away by the increasing cost of labor in Asia and the ridiculously high cost of transport now and the bottleneck at the ports. So there's really no benefit to having your manufacturing overseas anymore. Bring it back to the States, man. Let's build it here. Come on. So, Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, thank you, sir, Melonhead of the day, for your investment in American manufacturing. Let's make our chips here. No more of this nonsense. Now, that being said, I have the caveat that this factory will take years to build, so this is not going to resolve the chip shortage anytime soon. Until this factory comes online, we remain 100% dependent on Asian chip manufacturing, i.e. China, Taiwan, and Japan. All right, a huge problem is available retail space, says Cole Marsh. Cole, that is a very big problem, and I think maybe we could convert some of this retail space to manufacturing space. I don't think that would be too terribly difficult to do. Maybe somebody wanna work on that. Mike Robin says, what I don't get is Bitcoin versus stocks. When stocks drop, you get decent volume matching the volatility. In the recent dip on Bitcoin, the volume was and is super low. Bitcoin versus stocks. I'm not sure about the Bitcoin versus stocks. I've seen a lot of stuff written recently that Bitcoin is actually tracking stocks very closely, which, if you ask me, is not a very good sign for Bitcoin. I don't think that's where Bitcoin wants to live. You don't want to be living where stocks live. But if you think about it, I mean, these ICOs and these altcoins, they're like the new penny stocks, right? They're get-rich-quick schemes. They're pump and dumps. They're scams. People, without doing any research, dump money into it. They get burned. Some people get rich. Most lose everything, right? So crypto is, because it's still so new and it's still so wild westy, it is acting more like a stock market than what I think it should be, more of a store of value, more of an alternative to fiat currencies. And this is just the growing pains that crypto is going to continue to go through. I know we have some Bitcoin minis on here, some people that hate crypto. Sorry, folks. I don't hate crypto. I hate a lot of cryptos. But I like my Bitcoin. I like my Ethereum. All right, moving on with that one. I'm waiting for oil to hit 80 again. Going to load up. Yeah, 80 is not a bad price target, Nicole. I'm definitely looking to increase my position in oil. We'll see if this sell-off has more legs or not. I think we see 90 before we see 70. We might see that 7 handle. We might dip into the high 70s next week, but I don't think we're going all the way to 70. A lot of things have to go right in the world, and that's just not how this decade is going. It just isn't. My grandma would be pissed if I couldn't do simple math off the top of my head fast. Well, Neil, please apologize to Grandma on my behalf. It's kind of hard to keep the creative juices flowing in the brain when you're live streaming, and then to do math off the top of your head. Forgive me, please. I swear, I'm halfway decent at math. Halfway decent. I'm not great at math, but I was way off on that one. Keep the politics out of science, testified Jack. More people need to pipe up about that. I agree, Nicole. Thank you. Appreciate that. A lot of comments coming in. All the rats have their tails tied together. I like that saying, Cole. Very good. Anyone know how close friends J.P. Morgan and Tesla were? Yeah, Neil, not very. Actually, Mr. Musk and Mr. Diamond do not get along very well. And Elon, if you're watching, why not get under Jamie Dimon's skin and buy yourself a few million ounces of silver, sir? Come on, Elon. You know you want it. You know you want that silver, Elon. I know you're that big silver whale. Hey, a guy can dream, right? Got my eye on a place now, but the price is stupid. Maybe instead go long companies that supply the manufacturing chain. That's interesting, Nicole. Go long companies that supply the manufacturing chain. What was the saying? When there's a gold rush, you don't want to be the one digging for gold. You want to be the one selling the shovels. So that's an interesting take. I like that style. They're going to force us to buy electric cars. It's not a surprise to see huge growth or price of electricity. Vaiska, I tell you what, electric cars in Europe that ain't happening anytime soon. Europe's power grid is clinging to life right now, and they are draining down those natural gas stocks. If it wasn't for warm weather, Europe would have froze this year because they'd be almost out of gas by now. And the idea of putting all that transport load on the grid now, yeah, right. No way, dude. Not until we make some major investments in grid stability. And that's one thing I learned this year watching this energy crisis is electric cars are not right around the corner. I mean, the amount of infrastructure that needs to be built out, the amount of charging stations that need to be built, forget about that. I mean, obviously, that's a big problem, and that's going to be very expensive. Those transformer boxes on the corner of your street, if you live in suburbia, you know, the amount of juice that can flow through those, most of those can't handle more than 2 or 3 electric cars on the same block charging at once. Otherwise, they blow up, and then everybody on the street loses power. So we need those things to be upgraded. We need a lot more electric generation. I mean, electric cars have so long to go. I mean, they've come such a far way already, right? We have made great strides, but the idea of mass adoption, like everybody's going to be driving an electric car by next year or 2 years from now, just not happening, folks. That kind of change does not happen overnight. And I just got a text message from the economic ninja. I don't know if he's here watching, but he's texting. He says, yes, you're good to talk about the event and use your link. All right. Thank you, Ninja, for your text message, because that segues me to my next topic. And we'll circle back to this topic with the cars in a little bit. But I wanted to talk about this. What are we calling this? The Speak Freely event in Dallas, Fort Worth. This is our next in-person event that we're doing on March 5th. Yours truly will be there. I was asked to give a presentation on Evergrande, so I am already preparing for that, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to do the deepest dive I've ever done into the lunacy of what is going on in the Chinese housing market, and I'm going to do the best I can to figure out who is exposed to this garbage, where it is, and how to be safe from it, what the fallout might be. We're going to have Economic Ninja is going to be there. Joe Brown from Heresy Financial is going to be there talking about hyperinflation. Andy Schechtman is going to be there. Dave Granados is an incredibly sharp guy. He's a businessman that I met at the last event in Denver. He's going to be talking about starting a business during a bad economy. Chris Taylor from Financial Fitness and the Analyst are going to be there. Met those guys in Denver also. Great bunch of guys, great crew. So I have placed a link in the description to this event. If you guys want to reserve your place, you can do that now. And don't forget to tell them that nobody sent you. And I had a great time in Denver getting to know some of you guys and meeting you guys in person. I hope some of you guys who couldn't make it to Denver are possibly able to go to Dallas. It's going to be a good time. And Ninja, if you're watching, thank you for getting back to me. We are looking forward to that. Now, I want to go back to this subject with the chip plant and the cars, because I got another question. Got to go back to the post here. I had another question that was a good one. Where is it? Who sent that one? It was M&J Poodles wrote, what is the outlook for the steel market? All right. Steel market. Overall outlook for the steel market is not good. Not good at all. All right. Now, first of all, let me just say half of the world's steel gets used in China, and about half of that is used for building. And that demand, folks, is going to vanish because there is just zero chance that China continues to build the way it's building. So if you ask me, global steel consumption is about to take a 20% haircut just right off the top because of the Chinese building slowdown. I think that is virtually guaranteed at this point. So you're looking right there, just a major reduction in steel consumption. The other thing, with the car industry about to collapse, or maybe the car industry isn't going to collapse, but the price of cars is going to collapse, and certainly production of new cars is going to grind to a halt because they can't keep making these things. Well, new cars use a lot of steel, so I think that is going to drag down the price of steel. And then I saw this article just today. Was this released today? This was released. Yeah, it was released today. Steelco CEO warns North American steel market is a falling knife and that the steel market is in for some rough months ahead with excess supplies, rising inventories, and shrinking demand. The North American steel market is in for some rough months ahead, with the excess supplies rising inventories and shrinking demand. According to the head of Steelco Holdings, Inc., steelmakers' shares fell. It's a falling knife, said CEO Alan Kestenbaum in a Thursday interview. The question is, when does it go the other way, and where are we in the economic cycle? I think it turns at some point, but I don't know where it bottoms out. The grim view for 2022 follows a stellar year for the industry, with the largest U.S. steelmakers expected to post expected to post record full-year earnings after domestic steel prices surged as much as 94% to an all-time high of nearly $2,000 a short ton. Kestenbaum was the first steel CEO to publicly sound the alarm 2 weeks ago when he warned investors that his company's steel shipments are taking a hit as the rapid spread of Omicron accelerates absenteeism internally and even more among customers' work crews. Shares of Steelco fell alongside the U.S. major steelmakers following his comments. Canadian producer fell 6.3% in Toronto, while Nucor, U.S. Steel, Cleveland-Cliffs, and Steel Dynamics erased gains for the day. An index of 14 steel companies dropped 3.5%. The situation is especially negative delivering into automotive and construction sectors, with those industries reporting inventories are rising and customer demand is drying up, the head of Hamilton, Ontario-based steelmakers said. And that's basically what I just said. I mean, the construction sector, particularly in China, that's going to be a huge hit to global steel demand. And obviously what's going on in autos, that's going to hit steel. So thank you for the question. Who was that? That came from M&J Poodles. Thank you for sending that question. And again, I don't think there's many good things in line for the steel industry. And Dumb Money Media, the king of money. Thank you, sir, for the super chat, for supporting the channel. He says, my move from California to Arizona is officially confirmed. I'll finally be able to start heading out to some of these in-person meetups. That is awesome, king of money. Congratulations on the move. Congratulations on reaching escape velocity from the People's Republic of California into Arizona. It's another one leaving California into Arizona. Do the people of Arizona a favor and do not bring California ideas to the state of Arizona. And I remember when I first moved out of New Jersey and into Pennsylvania, for many of the same reason people are leaving California, one of the first places I went was to go buy a nice John Deere zero-turn lawnmower for my 2.5 acres that I have to mow out here now. And the first thing the guy said was, welcome, don't change our laws, when he found out I was coming from New Jersey. So I had to tell him, you don't have to worry about me. I left New Jersey for a reason. So, Dumb Money Media, sir, thank you for the super chat, for supporting the channel. Congratulations on the move. Good luck, sir. I hope to see and hear more from you, and it would be awesome to see you at one of those in-person meetups. And what part of Arizona? Phoenix, Scottsdale area by any chance? I got a buddy just moved out there. I guess it's been a few years since he moved out there, but he loves it out there. It's an up-and-coming area. All right, we got a lot of comments here. I shorted November, sold 401k, and went to bonds. I took my cash and shorted SQQQ. I sold all my shorts and went long with 10% of my cash. David Hyatt, there is a lot of moves in there. It would take me days, well, maybe not days, but several minutes to really analyze what you're saying. But it sounds like you've made a lot of moves in your 401k. I don't actually trade my 401k. I rebalance my 401k once a year. I have different rules govern my trading behavior and my different compartments of my money, and it's a way I hedge against myself making bad decisions. I always hedge against myself. I hedge against other things, so might as well hedge against yourself, because we're not right all the time, folks. We get them wrong every now and then. Cole Marsh says the mortuary is a booming business. That's the second week in a row with these dark comments about mortuaries and funeral homes. Man, you and Nicole would get along great. MJ said, you would think they'd push more for hybrids for the time being. You hit the nail on the head regarding charging ports, etc. Yeah, I'm not against electric cars, and everything I've heard about Teslas, I've never driven one, but everything I've read and heard about them says they're awesome cars. It's just there's so much infrastructure needs to be built out before you can really get mainstream mass adoption, and that kind of change doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. Robin RC says there are diesel hybrids from Renault. That thing works, but the politics don't like it. It's better than electric and CO2 balance, and the low consumption reduces the taxes earned per mile. Mike, you hit on an important thing there, the taxes earned per mile. You're starting to see a lot of people are pushing for a national mileage tax in the U.S. now because they realize with the increasing adoption rate of electric cars and as fuel efficiency becomes more prevalent that their tax revenue is starting to drop, so they're going to try to get the money from us another way, i.e. taxing us for every mile they drive. Good luck with that, money grubbers. Just buy silver and gold and keep calm, says Vaiska. Vaiska, that's good advice. MJ says, congrats on the move, DMM. I agree. Thanks, it's a long time coming. All right, Nicole. Nicole and Cole are going to start a mortician, so we'll have to call it Nicole Cole or Cole Nicole. I don't know. I'm sure there's a good name in there. All right, let's move on now. Here's a story, and this one, Nicole, I think this one came from you also, asking about the Fed's balance sheet numbers, and we did get some more recent data got released, and I ran a couple of numbers here. As of the 19th, the Fed balance sheet was at $8.8678 trillion, and that is a pretty significant addition. If you go back to the beginning of the month or the end of December, we started at 8.7574. So that is an increase in 3 weeks of 110 billion.3. All right. So if this were the end of the month right now, the Fed would have overshot in their taper by $20 billion. All right. So as of right now, the Fed balance sheet has expanded by more than the 90 billion they told us they were going to put in. Now, there's one caveat I have to put in here, and that is, you notice this is a bumpy curve, all right? It moves around up and down over time, and the one thing I want to point out is that the last week of the month tends to be a step down, all right? They tend to let things roll off the balance sheet for the last month. So as of right now, just based on these last 3 weeks of data, the Fed is on pace to overshoot the $90 billion number they gave us. But if we get a step down, like we tend to get at the end of the month, that $90 billion number may still be in play for the month of January. And we will absolutely revisit this next Friday when the numbers come out again, because it's important to keep them honest, folks. This chart is supposed to be leveling off, and we are now 3 months into the taper. Does this chart look like it's leveled off? Not really. Not really. Doesn't really look like it's leveled off. Now, we ran the numbers last week, and they were on pace to meet the taper, but then, this week they added a whole lot of stuff to the balance sheet. So I am very interested to see what the data point comes in at next week. And don't make a liar out of me, Fed. I said I believe that they're going to taper, so that's important. Dumb Money Media, sir, again, thank you for the super chat for supporting the channel. He says he's going to be in Glendale, Arizona, and I'm too dumb to vote. You should do an online event sometime, too. I'll make you a vid for it. Suma one was lit, I think. Well, congratulations on your move to Glendale, and again, I wish you luck with the move, and thank you for supporting the channel. Do an online event. I thought I was doing an online event right now. Am I not doing it online? I get what you're saying. One of those online pre-register events. To be honest with you, Your Majesty, King of Money, I like the face-to-face ones. There's I don't know if he's here right now. I met Don T77 at the Denver meeting, and he's one of the guys who's always been in the chats on these live streams. And it was just really cool to put a face to the name. To say, oh, you're who I've been talking to this whole time. We had a nice conversation. It was really good to meet him in person. I met Mish, the moderator, in person, not to mention all the other YouTubers I met. I met a lot of really, really interesting, smart people. I learned a lot at that event. So let's just say I learned as much as you guys learn from these interactions. I really felt like I improved in the short time that I was in Denver. I got a lot out of the trip. It was a really good meeting. I enjoyed it. So anyways, I hope to see you guys in Dallas also. And Mark Schwartz, Stump Grinding, sir, thank you very much for the super chat. And I'm trying to read your message. You didn't say anything. You just gave me a super chat. So thank you, Mark. Again, as always, appreciate your continued support of the channel, sir. Thank you very much. And all All right, moving on. You bump 'em, we dump 'em, says Cole Marsh. Tom Stencil says, I'd like to see you get together in the upper Midwest, such as Chicago or Milwaukee. Well, I can tell you, Tom, we definitely, Chicago is probably in the cards. Um, I hope I'm not tipping my hat, but we like to use the main airport hubs as locations because it tends to make the travel expenses a little more palatable to people. You know, like Dallas is a major transport hub, Denver was a major transport hub. So I think Chicago may be in the cards, but we're not going to do Chicago in winter. Nope. I hate the cold. I used to be a commercial fisherman. I have had enough experience with the cold for 10 lifetimes. I expect to spend the rest of my days in a comfortable thermal situation. No more cold for nobody. But yeah, we Chicago in the summertime, that might be doable. We'll run that by the group. Chicago has come up, but in full disclosure, I may have been one of the ones who helped to torpedo Chicago because the idea of visiting Chicago in March, I shudder to think about it. Symbiote59 says Ireland has just announced their they are lifting nearly all scariant restrictions as from tomorrow. Well, congratulations. I don't know if we have any Irish folks on the phone today, but congratulations on the return of your God-given freedoms. And just remember, folks, the government is giving you nothing. When they lift these restrictions, they are only taking away their god-awful, unconstitutional restrictions on your freedoms. So do not say thank you to these government muckety-mucks when they give you your freedom back because they never gave you the freedom. You were born with it. They just took it from you, and they're not supposed to. Keep them honest. Don't say thank you. Don't you dare thank them. Mark Schwartz, Stump Grinding says, support this channel, all you Melonheads. Thank you very much, Master Melonhead Mark Schwartz, again, for your continued support for the channel and for your kind words, sir. We could solve the fertilizer problem with liquefied people, says Cole Marsh. Wow, Cole, is that part of your mortuary business model? Is that like the Soylent Green of fertilizer? Is that, man, this is getting dark. Some Edgar Allan Poe stuff going on in here. Maybe with a little bit of, what was his name? What was the name of the actor? Charlton Heston. It's people. Soylent Green is people. Oh, boy. Cheeseburger, sir, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the generosity, guys. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Cheeseburger says, move to rural New Zealand over lockdowns. Been turned down for 5 or 6 jobs due to vax status. That sucks. I'm sorry, Cheese. But managed to find a job through a local freedom group. Well, that is awesome. First of all, it's terrible that they denied you employment for that. That's bogus. But it is awesome that like-minded individuals got together and got around those stupid mandates. And I'm glad you were able to find work, sir. Congratulations on the move. I hope it was a good move for you and your family. And thank you again for the support of the channel. That is excellent. And yeah, New Zealand, Australia, for some reason, these Pacific countries really went crazy with some of the responses here. Just absolutely crazy. And God forbid, if we ever had something came out that had like a serious mortality rate, like what if there was a disease that actually like killed 30 or 40% of the people infected? I mean, what would they do then? Jeez. I mean, we'd all be prisoners. So anyways, I want to limit my commentary on this subject, guys, because I don't want to get myself in trouble. So we are going to move on now. Let's see. Which one are we going to... We got to talk about this because this was in the description. FedCoin, all right? The central bank, the Federal Reserve, they released their money and payments, the U.S. dollar in the age of digital transformation. And this is the Federal Reserve saying, we're going to take over your money, and we're pretending like we haven't already made up our minds yet. So I didn't get a chance to read this document in its entirety, but I did skim through it. And there was a couple of things I noted were absent. Okay, this document pretends to examine the pros and the cons of a transition to a digital dollar to CBDCs. All right, so if they imagine the cons of the government take over the money, surely they anticipated the propensity of governments to abuse their power and the prospects of maybe this technology could be used for nefarious purposes. So I did a Control F, abuse or abuse. And did you hear that sound? That means the word abuse does not appear anywhere in this document. How do you examine the pros and cons of a central bank digital currency without the word abuse or abuse? What about misuse? No, misuse is also not in there. Nowhere. Nope. So no misuse, no abuse. So how are they really talking about the cons of a CBDC if they're totally ignoring the natural human tendency to abuse one's power? This document is a joke to me. All right. Like right away, before I even read a single page, just doing a Control F and looking for those words and the fact that they didn't appear anywhere in the document just right away tells me that this document is a farce in its entirety. But there's a couple of things in particular I wanted to jump out at, and in particular was on page 16 when they talked about financial inclusion. Okay, where is it? No, I'm sorry. This was on. I got to do another Control F. All right, here it's saying remaining changes in the payment system. A variety of public and private sector efforts are underway to support financial inclusion. And this word inclusion keeps coming up. More inclusive payment system, financial inclusion. Okay. Now, this is the big joke about this, because what they're not saying they're going to do if they implement central bank digital currencies is they are going to exclude everybody who does not conform to their rosy little picture of the way the world is going to operate. All right? Think about the United States government's track record. Think about how the United States government's treated, say African Americans for its first 150 years. Think about how the United States government treated Native Americans for its first, forever. Think about how the United States government treated, say, Japanese citizens during World War II. These are American citizens, and the only thing they did wrong was their eyes looked different. Their ancestry, that was their own. Look at what they did to them. And then think about how America's government right now is, say, treating people who don't want to undergo mandatory medical treatments. So they're saying financial inclusion is the big benefit of a central bank digital currency. When if you go back through history and you look, every time the government has gotten its hands on a new little set of powers, the first thing it does is abuse that power, which, again, abuse nowhere in this document, and they use it to exclude people that they don't agree with. All right, so this financial inclusion thing is a joke, because that's not what the government does. The government does not include anybody. The government excludes everybody who doesn't do what the government says. Now, the other thing I wanted to say was this question. Okay, here's a question that they keep asking about this central bank digital currency. Should the amount of CBDC held by a single end user be subject to quantity limits? Think about that for a second. The central bank is asking the public, should there be a maximum amount of money we allow people to have? Who gets to decide that? And who gets to decide what that quantity is? And what happens to a person who goes over that quantity? Is it taken from them? Where does it go if it's taken from them? Who gets it? What is that going to do to innovation, to entrepreneurship? So, anyway, that one really upset me to see, should there be a quantity limit on the amount? Should we limit the amount of money a person is allowed to have? Give me a break, folks. None of your business, central bank. All right, one other thing that I wanted to mention was privacy. Little thing like privacy. And privacy appears 14 times in this document, which is good that they're at least pretending to care about privacy. But this statement here in this central bank digital currency document really worried me. They said, protecting consumer privacy is critical. Any CBDC would need to strike an appropriate balance, however, between safeguarding the privacy rights of consumers and affording the transparency necessary to deter criminal activity. And to which I ask, why? Why does a CBDC need to strike an appropriate balance between protecting privacy rights and deterring criminal activity? Don't we have cops for that? Don't we already have police? And don't we already have the FBI? And don't we already have the NSA? And don't we already have the DEA? And God knows all the other UPS, USPS, all the other federal organizations that have SWAT teams and regulators and the SEC and everything. Why do we need to build police activity into the fabric of our money? Why? Why? Because they want more power. That's why. And what is an appropriate balance between privacy and deterring criminal activity? Number one, who determines what is appropriate? And who polices that person? Who makes sure that person doesn't get too grabby with the power? So, if you ask me, there is no appropriate balance between privacy and deterring criminal activity, right? And that's why we have a Bill of Rights, and that's why when, say, illegal searches and seizures of our property happen, any evidence that they find is inadmissible at court, because the Founding Fathers, when they drafted the Bill of Rights, understood the natural propensity of humans to abuse their power. And so, yeah, we let criminals walk when cops don't follow the rules and get warrants and only search when they're allowed to. And there's a reason why, unfortunately, criminals walk in that case, because the threat of cops over abusing their power is more of a risk to society than that criminal poses. All right. Now, maybe I didn't make any friends with that comment, but there's a reason why we do it. So there's no such thing as an appropriate balance between privacy rights and affording the transparency necessary to deter criminal activity. We already have ways of determining criminal activity. We don't need more of them because they're just going to abuse it. So there's a lot of things in this document really upset me. And I just want to mention there's another link I put in the description to this video, and that is a link to this feedback form where they're asking for our feedback. And Joe Brown over at Heresy Financial did a video on this yesterday, also including the link. They're asking for feedback because this is going to require an act of Congress. And we need to flood this system with negative feedback so any congressman or senator who is willing to support this legislation understands that they are facing election risk, that they might get primaried or that they may lose a general election if they support this ridiculous power grab by the Federal Reserve. All right, this decision has not been made yet. It doesn't have to happen. Flood this system with negative feedback. Even if you just want to write one word, don't, or one word, no. All right, so I didn't plan. As soon as this live stream is over, I am going to go in and I am going to fill out this form, and I am going to let them know in no uncertain terms that I do not want the Federal Reserve messing with my money any more than they already do. Jesus, all the Fed does is cause problems. All right, climbing down off my soapbox again. Cheeseburger, thank you very much for the super chat, sir. Again, for supporting the channel. If a virus had a 30 to 40% mortality rate, it'd be nice if it went after politicians and bureaucrats first. Unfortunately, viruses are not so kind. Man, it'd be nice if they would, wouldn't it? But no, that's not usually how it works. Thank you again, sir, for supporting the channel and for the super chat. I appreciate it very much. And Mike Robin, also, sir, thank you for the super chat. He says, CBDCs make it easy to abuse power. Imagine your gold disappears on the click of a button. It's as scary as armed drones hunting enemies on their own. And Mike, first of all, thank you again for supporting the channel. And I want you guys to imagine a couple of nightmare scenarios with this CBDC. Number one, no more tax returns. They just tax every transaction. They just tax it. The second you buy something, boom, they take taxes. The second you get paid, boom, they take taxes. No more tax returns, no nothing. They just help themselves to it. I also want you to imagine the Fed decides quantitative tightening is now necessary, and they just go in right before you pay your mortgage, and they just go in and they delete some of your digital dollars, and now you can't make your mortgage payment. That could happen. Soleil Amarova said that's what she wants to be able to do, all right? Or imagine you're in line to buy food, right? And you're trying to buy steak because your family's coming over and you want to treat your family to a nice dinner. And the cash register rejects your CBDC card because you've already bought your quota of beef this month and you're not allowed to buy any more because the Fed instituted price controls and their programmable currency was the perfect mechanism for them to throttle consumption to keep prices down so they don't take a hit in the polls in the next election. These are all things that this CBDC would allow them to do. Imagine your car breaks down and you go to fill it, or your car is almost out of gas. You can't get to another gas station. You go to fill up. No, you've already used your quota of gasoline for this month. So now what do? Your car is not going to move anywhere. Just take mass transit. Just take high-speed rail. Lower your carbon emissions. It's for the greater good, right? I want you to imagine all these nightmare scenarios, folks, because this is exactly what they'll do. This is what the government does when it gets power. It abuses it. And it's not like the United States government is unique. All governments do this. All people do this. This is human nature. And it's one of the reasons why the Magna Carta, the Bill of Rights, why these documents are so important is because it understands and it recognizes the very basic human propensity to abuse power. And it's not a knock on any one person. It's built into us. It's how we are. And we need to recognize that. And that's why we always have to be vigilant against this kind of garbage. The government will always be trying to seize more power from the people. Don't give it to them. All right. End of soapbox. Drone body pickup services. Cole Marsh, you are dark, sir. You are dark. And Nicole Post says, I get mad every time I hear Snyder say the euro dollar is just a ledger, or that it's the same as cave paintings with antelope. It's a ledger. He forgets the other side of that coin is blood and labor. Interesting thought, Nicole, and I agree. It's more than just a ledger. Define criminal activity. I'll bet it changes to suit the government position, says Steve Whitus. Steve, that's an excellent comment, and I agree. The definition of criminal activity certainly changes from time to time. I mean, right now, in some countries, trying to buy food, if you have not undergone a mandatory medical procedure, is considered criminal activity, and they'll arrest you for it. So careful how much power you give these people. No one will accept CBDC for things. Government can't mandate prosperity. You know, Nicole, I agree most people will not accept it now. But I wonder, because we've talked on this channel a lot about what's coming, what could be on the horizon, and how things could get bad. And something tells me people will be so desperate for the Fed to just do something that they won't care what the Fed wants to do. They'll just be so desperate for any action to be taken that they'll go willingly. And I think whether they create the mayhem on purpose or not, that's maybe that gets a little tinfoil hatty, but desperate people will give up their freedom very easily and very willingly. And, we'll see how bad things get this year and how desperate people get. I don't know. Just don't know. Anyways, guys, we're getting a little late. It's getting a little long in the tooth, but there's at least one more topic I wanted to cover, and that was the silver move this week. I know you guys like silver, and we had a really nice move in silver to start the week. That big, beautiful green candle on Monday, and then we had a couple of good days. And then yesterday we stalled, and I did a video yesterday saying that the resistance was at about 24.67, which was the 200-day moving average at the time. We actually did break above that a little bit. We got as high as 24.75, but we came right back down, retested twice, did not break through that 200-day moving average, and now we're below it. So right now, that silver breakout is, if you ask me, it is stalled. I know a lot of you guys don't want to hear that, but I had mentioned in my video that I want to see a break above that 200-day moving average and then a retest down and a move higher before I buy in. And here's looking at the silver chart again. Make sure you guys can see, and you can. I want to see us get above this red line, come back and retest it, and bounce off it and start to move higher before I get involved in any silver derivatives contracts. And again, this is, I mentioned in my video yesterday, I still dollar cost average in the physical silver on a regular basis. That's something I do independent of price. This is me speaking from my brokerage compartment where I trade derivatives sometimes. And I'm watching SIL and SIL-J minor ETFs for that. And if I see that move above that 200-day moving average with a successful retest and a bounce off, I will be buying some call options in those ETFs. Again, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. do your own research and your own DD and arrive at a decision that is right for you. And guys, it is now about 4:15. I have been going for about an hour, and I know I said I was going to make these a little bit shorter because they were getting a little long in the tooth, and that we're going to do them a little more often. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut it short. Not that it's been short; it's been an hour. But I think we're going to get together again on Tuesday. I don't know if it's going to be Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon. I'll let you guys know probably by Monday about what we're going to do. But I really do enjoy doing these live streams, and I think I'm going to make it a more common occurrence. So we'll start with twice a week, and we'll see how that goes. So, guys, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your comments, for the super chats, for everybody who supported the channel. Very much appreciate that, folks. And, well, guys, until next time. Live small and dream big.